good morning. My name is Rosemary Manners and I'm Australia's leading traditional and natural pharmacist. And today at 12 o'clock every Wednesday I'm having my health show and it's now on Rosemary Manners. Sorry, I've tried to put it on the other platform today, but that didn't quite work for me. So we're back where we usually are on my Rosemary Manners side. So the health show that I do is called Health Cheat Sheets, and the idea is to find easy and quick ways to help your health and learning new things about our health in a very easy way. So today I wanted to introduce the idea, because we've been talking about the immune system, and the immune system is what we've been talking about all month, and I wanted to introduce some ideas that the doctor wouldn't normally tell you. So if you're going to the doctor and looking at your immune system and looking at ways to strengthen your immune system, often we'll discuss like how to wage war on the bugs and what medication or what natural supplements you can do to kill the bugs. But today I thought I'd look at a few men of science who are going at different angles and different ways of making big differences to your immune system. And it's really interesting to see what they're doing. And even though all three of them are coming from completely different directions, they're not unsimilar in that they're working on the frontiers of what we know as the human body. So that sounds pretty exciting. So let's throw ourselves in there. So we're going to start off in Australia with a professor, and his name is Rob Newton, and he's working out of the university out in Western Australia, and he's really knowledgeable. He's published 290 scientific journals. He's written 2 books. He's got 16 chapters that he's written. His research, as of 2016, he's actually generated $29 million of research funding. So you don't get research funding for just nothing. So you've got to be really able to portray that what you're doing is making a difference. So his real passion is looking at the immune system, and especially the immune system in relationship to cancer. Because when you think of cancer, cancer is when the immune system isn't doing its job. It allows a tumour to grow, where the immune system should, ideally in a healthy individual, be able to make a difference. And so we know already that exercise is established as being a highly effective medicine, but how effective? And his studies are really interesting, and he's doing something that nobody else is doing. Because normally when you go and get treatment from your oncologist with cancer, you tend not to be a little bit more inactive, where he's running trials where you're doing your exercise alongside with the chemotherapy, and it's making a big difference. And it's really interesting because there's a new study out, and there's some more information coming from the UK, where the actual exercise, if you design the right sort of exercise program, it's actually more effective than the chemotherapy itself. And together they're going to be a lot more effective than each of them separately. So we know there's a lot of research into exercise, but there hasn't been a lot of research in exercise going at the same time as the medication. And so what happens is when you're sedentary, often you're losing a lot of muscle mass. So if you can keep your muscle mass as you're going through the medication, then that's going to make a difference. But the Danish researchers have gone even further. I'm just going to read this out so that I've got it all exactly right. They were able to demonstrate how the exercise made a difference and what sort of signal it was releasing to make the natural killer cells attack the cancer. So the first signal was adrenaline. So adrenaline produced during exercise activates the natural killer cells to be released into the bloodstream. They're now primed for surveillance and looking for a target. The information then comes via the muscles. Exercise causes muscles to release a chemical signal called interleukin-6. So the interleukin-6 not only seeks out the tumour cells directly, informing them to cease and desist, it also tells the natural killer cells what to target. So this is really exciting. It's like our own body helping with the chemotherapy. The other thing about exercise is the exercise actually helps the chemotherapy have a better effect. So, so what they're doing out in Western Australia is they're working very closely to the oncology unit and trialing where you do exercise along with the oncology, and the results are really worthwhile looking. So you can find lots of results. The guy in charge is Professor Rob Newton. He's got lots of YouTubes out there. But what I'm suggesting is when we're waging our war on bugs and we're looking at our immune system and working out how we can get our immune system firing as much as we possibly can, think exercise. And it's funny because as soon as you feel bad, what's the first thing you do? You stop exercising. So, right, I'm not sort of suggesting we go and run marathons when we're feeling sort of quite snotty or infectious, but maybe as soon as you're over the acute stage, or doing light exercises, or have some sort of exercise in your mind so you're not just dropping it all. Because we know, like the scientists have told us, we're doing lots of research. There's another mob I've just read about looking at prostate cancer and the difference with longevity after prostate cancer with people that are more sedentary and people that exercise. And obviously the exercises are coming out so much more ahead of the people that tend to live a more sedentary life. So the research, the scientists have come back that exercise conclusively helps our immune system. So when you're not feeling so well, maybe it's worthwhile having a walk around the block or doing a little bit of sort of exercise at home, because you don't necessarily want to infect other people, but actually doing something at home to help you along the way. Hi Jennifer, and I can see Simon, I can see Roy out there. Welcome to my health show. So today we're discussing parts about our immune system that the doctor wouldn't necessarily tell you. If you go to the doctor and you're saying, well, like I've got an infection, what am I going to do? He probably won't be sort of discussing what these scientists are talking about. So the first scientist we just looked at is Professor Rob Newton. He's out of Western Australia. He's very noted. He's written books, and he's really pairing up exercise in a big way for people who've got immune compromise. And his results are phenomenal. And he's lecturing all the way around the world, and it's definitely worthwhile having a look at some of his work that he's done. So that's interesting, and that's a sort of bit of a mind change, I think, or mind change for a lot of people. So the next one's a really fun guy, another man of science. His name is Wim Hof, and you might have heard him. He's got like 25 Guinness Book of Records. He's that guy, that Superman that goes under the ice and then pops up again, or I think he's walked up to Mount Everest in his shorts, or he walks barefoot through the snow. And so many people write him off as being like one of these superhuman guys, Houdini, one of these crazy guys that can withstand all these things. But his advocate is that he can teach anybody to do this, like you and me, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure that I want to climb Everest with my shoes off. But he can teach people to do what he can do. And what he's found with his method is it makes a big difference to your immune system. So he wants to go down as known as to be a man of science. So whatever he's doing, he's using his body as a bit of an experiment. And he does a lot of testing too with his body and how when he does his method, what changes in his body. But a few years ago, he decided to put it to the test. And so he got 12, or actually got 24 volunteers, but he got 12 volunteers that learned his method. Now, his method, what is his method? His method's got to do with meditation. It's got to do with a very special sort of breathing. It's got to do with how you hold your body and how you feel when you go through these extreme colds. So he taught 12 people his method from scratch, like they were just normal people, went along to one of his workshops. They learned all his breathing methods. They learned how to meditate in his way. And then they were with the scientists. The scientists had 12 volunteers, and they had the 12 Wim Hof method people. and they injected them all with E. coli. So E. coli is a bacteria, and it normally makes you really sick. When you eat something, you get gastro, you don't feel very well. And so it was really interesting to see what the difference between the 12 just non-people that off the street and the 12 people that had been trained by the Wim Hof method. So the clinical study has been released, and I bet that you can guess what happened. None of the guys that have been trained with this method actually had any of the symptoms of the deadly strain of E. coli. So normally that would induce vomiting and sickness for days on end, and it did in the other 12 people. But in the 12 people with his system that were trained, experienced no ailments whatsoever. So that's sort of really interesting that we can change our immune system by breathing and through meditation. And maybe this coldness has something to do with it too. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of testimonials. People have tried it. They do his method and they jump into something cold and they say they feel tingling. They don't feel the cold, but I might feel if I just jumped into something really cold. So I think it's something to think about when you're thinking about the immune system. So this is telling us when your body is under attack, when you're immune compromised, meditation, got nothing to lose. Breathing, like it might be worthwhile looking up some breathing techniques and seeing if that makes a difference to how your body faces an immune onslaught. And so have a little bit of a look. He's quite a character, this Wim Hof. He's all over the internet. He's a Superman. It's really fun listening to Supermans, and he does sound a bit crazy. But when he's teaching other people to do it and the other people are then not sick and are then sort of put to the test, then you really got to question it, what's happening. And it was interesting that I've drawn a connection, because when we were talking about Professor Rob Newton and with his research into cancer, and what he found is the exercise increased the adrenaline, which has an effect on the killer cells. The scientists that were studying the E. coli and what it does to the body again said there was an increase in adrenaline. So maybe there's a connection there. Maybe our immune system works a little bit better when you put it to some sort of extreme, when your adrenaline levels go up. I don't know. I'm just drawing a connection after reading those two studies, but there might be not a connection there. But already we've found a scientist that's really advocate for exercise while you're sick, exercise to boost your immune system. He's got lots of people behind him. His name is Professor Rob Newton, and he's working out of Western Australia. We've looked at Wim Hof, who I think his nationality is Polish, and he's done amazing things with his body, but when he teaches other people to the same of his techniques, it makes a huge difference on their immune system. And so he's really keen of being one of the first people. Like, his whole goal is to use his body for science, and so that he can be one of the first people that can do a breakthrough in some of these chronic diseases by his new techniques. And I believe, if you're really keen, you can all go to Barcelona next month, because he's doing a program in Barcelona. But there's plenty to find out if you're interested in researching a bit more. He's all over YouTube, he's all over the web. But if you delve a little bit deeper, you'll find the clinical trial that has to do with how his methods will actually affect your immune system, and immune system for the better. So there's two ideas with your immune system that if you go to the doctor, he might not say, well, maybe go home and meditate, maybe do a bit of extra exercise, maybe look at some breathing techniques. It could make a big difference to your immune system. So there's two guys, are scientists. Welcome to the people that just walked in. So we're looking at scientists and what they might say if you ask them how to strengthen your immune system. So this month we've looked at lots of ways to kill the bugs and to wage war on the bugs that are invading us. But these are three scientists that if you went to the doctor, he might not say, look at these scientists. He might say, well, let's go back and wage war on the bugs. But there's more to our immune system than what the bugs are doing. And we know that, and we will learn as we go along. So we've looked so far today, we've looked at Professor Rob Newton out at Western Australia, and we've looked at Wim Hof. So I've got one more scientist up my sleeve who I'd like to introduce you to with a completely different idea when it comes to immune health. So his name is Gay Hendricks. He's written a lot of bestsellers. He's actually a psychologist and he practices in the field of personal growth, relationships and mind-body connection. He's written lots of books, Conquer Your Hidden Fear, Take Life to the Next Level. The book that I'm reading at the moment is called The Great Leap. He looks at different ways to use your mind and to change what your mind's doing. And what he's noticed is it makes a big difference to the immune system. So let's delve into Gay Hendricks. So he talks about worry. And we do know, like, got a big exam coming up, that's when you get a cold. It's the end of the tax year, and that's when you know there's all the pressure on to get all the figures in, you might get a cold. You know that at Christmas time, when you're trying to party very hard, do your work, do your parties, often you get a cold. Your immune system goes down when you get worried, when you get stressed. We know that. So what he's found out is that worry will choke your flow of positive energy, and that will affect the immune system. You become more prone to infections. And so this is widely accepted that you become more prone to infections when you have worry thoughts. So, well, that's easy. Don't have worry thoughts. And it's really interesting, because the human mind is so interesting. Like I was thinking the other day, on my way to work, I feel great. My inside feels great. My head's bubbling. Everything feels absolutely fantastic. And 1 second later, I'm worried about what the turnover is in my pharmacy and thinking sort of not so positive thoughts. So how do I go? And it's a human thing. Like it can just as be the other way around. I might be thinking about what the kids are doing and whether they're okay. Like our brains switch from being positive to negative, to be positive to negative, to get stressed. So, gosh, how do our bodies know what to do? Like to feel good or to feel bad. And it's interesting if you start watching your thoughts, start watching how your brain works and making a difference. You can make a difference. Who's in charge? You're driving your bus. You're in charge. So if I know that I'm more prone to infections, my body's not going to work so well, I want to recover more and be lots of energy, I want to get rid of those worry thoughts. Those worry thoughts are not going to help me. And so Gay Hendricks in his book gives us lots of different techniques to help with those worry thoughts, and to be able to, like, the first step is to notice them. Notice where your brain is going at different times of the day. So the interesting thing is when you start looking at these worry thoughts, you'll find that most of the things, like I would say about 99% of the things that we worry about, we have no influence in the outcome. Like me worrying about the kids while I'm at work and they're at school, there's nothing that's going to achieve. Me worrying about what's happening in the pharmacy, I'm not even there. Like, how is that going to help anything? Help the pharmacy, help me, help anything? All it seems to be doing is pulling down my immune system, I know now. So it's sort of interesting to think of what we do and notice it. So the first thing is to notice it. Notice where your worry thoughts are, where you're taking them, and what they're doing for you. My guess is they're not doing very much for you at all. So it's like our brain's designed to trip us up. So anyway, we can undesign that. We don't have to. We don't have to do that. So Gay Hendricks has a little practice for you. So I thought I'd share that with you. So you want to notice, you want to start noticing, notice what, hi Naz, thanks for coming and joining me. You want to start noticing what the worry thoughts are, what the worry thoughts are about, and notice that they're not really helping you. Notice that you don't need them, and notice that maybe they're going to affect how your body functions. So here's ways to notice them and then to let go of them, like take your focus away from to something else. So maybe I'm worrying about my kids and thinking, oh, well, that's a worry thought. I don't need that. There's nothing that I can do at this particular moment that's going to affect the outcome of my children. Let's focus on something else that I'd like to focus on. And so that you move your thoughts away from the worry thoughts. It's an active process to move your thoughts away from those worry thoughts to something a bit more positive, to something that you'd like to sort of think about that's going to put a bit more a positive spin on what's happening for you. So opening the focus to something else, and feel deeply, like start working out how you're actually feeling, how you're feeling inside your body. And guys, there's quite often, I think I've noticed it myself, that if I move that thoughts away from whatever it is that's my worry thought and put it on something positive and start sort of feeling and touching base with my body, it quite often comes up with a great idea. And you tend to move in a more positive direction. So that's a challenge, and that's a challenge for your immune system. It's a challenge for your immune system to stop that way that it sort of spirals down with those worry thoughts. And if I want my immune system, and I know the scientists have told me, if I want my immune system to function as well as I possibly can, it's putting myself in a situation where those worry thoughts aren't ruling me. And so, yeah, I guess it's just letting go of those worry thoughts, knowing that, well, really most of them are not going to really make that much of an outcome to where my life is at the moment, and notice them for what they are. So there's 3 different scientists, 3 different thinking, 3 different ways of viewing the immune system and how you make a big difference on the immune system. So having met those 3 scientists, well, not in real life, but met them in the science and learnt about them, it can change how we approach an immune problem. So if we've got a chronic disease, or if we're inflamed, or we've got an onslaught with bugs, being able to have a few more resources up our sleeve to be able to to come up with some more answers. And these are not necessarily things that the doctor would tell you. If you go to the doctor, he's not going to say, get rid of your worry thoughts, usually. Maybe you've got a very clued on doctor. He's not necessarily going to get up and say, well, what's your exercise regime and how are you going to keep that going alongside with your medication for your chronic disease or your infection. And he might not mention that there are some scientific studies out there and there's some new things to learn when you can think about whether there's some significance in being cold or being able to breathe in a special way or being able to meditate in a special way, so that it has a really significant effect on your immune system. So that's heaps of things to think about. What do you think? Does anybody have a comment out there? Do you think that these might be good ideas when you're fighting an immune crisis? Do you know people that have tried it? Do you know anybody that you think would be benefit of some of these ideas? So I'll just recap those 3 scientists so that you can do your own research, because it's all out there. It's just probably may not be in your bubble, because often when we're sick, we go to the doctor, we come home, we've only got our area of knowledge. And sometimes it's really fantastic to have a look in the world outside our bubble and see what the scientists are doing and see what they're coming up with, and drawing parallels to your own condition and what's happening with inside your immune system and what they are studying out there. So the 3 scientists that we've looked at today, let me just say it slowly so you can write them down, is Professor Rob Newton. So he's at the ECU out in Western Australia. So you can he's really interested in exercise and how exercise has a direct effect on the immune system. The second person that we talked about his name is Wim Hof, W-I-M, and then a new word, H-O-F. You can look up the Wim Hof method, which is his method of increasing immunity and the health in his body, and that's the method that he teaches to other people now. You can look up some of his shows of some of the things he's done. He's really an interesting character. He is a superhuman, and it's probably not something that you and I would do, but we can take parts of his research and be able to apply it to when we might be sick. So he's an interesting guy to look into. And the third one, his name is Gay Hendricks. So he's a psychologist, and he's a psychologist which is interested in how worry thoughts and how your thought patterns can restrict your life. So he talks about upper limit thoughts, so how your thoughts can actually cramp your style and stop you from getting to the limits and the potential and the version of your life that you might want. But the particular bit in relationship to his study that we're interested in today is the immune system and how worry thoughts and stress can limit the potential of your immune system and the potential of your immune cells to fight an infection or to get rid of what shouldn't be there, or to have the potential to be able to work as chemotherapy agents to be able to kill a cancer, or to help in chronic disease, or to be able to help in an autoimmune disease or an inflammatory disease. So being able to take that restrictions away our body so we can bypass, we can get further than our upper limits by looking at worry thoughts and looking at thought patterns and coming up with skills of letting go those things that we don't want, and those things that restrict us, and those worry thoughts that our brain just invents. Right? There's very few worry thoughts that help us. Most of them are just time wasters. That we get worry thoughts about things that we have no value. Nothing that we can do will change the outcome of those worry thoughts. So when you say it like that, it is very interesting. So Gay Hendricks, G-A-I, and then the next word is Hendricks. You'll find him. You'll find a lot of books he's written, a lot of the ideas he's put out. They're really easy to find. If you look at Amazon or some of the big book vendors, you can grab one of his books and have a look what he's talking about in relationship to the immune system and being able to sort of get to your immune potential. Don't let that limit. Don't be limited by how your brain works and what there is out there. And the other thing I love, and the whole idea of this health cheat sheet sort of program, is putting out there what else is out there, because very often in our little health bubble we only know what we're told, and if we're not really trained in health, we don't know where to look. So it's just being able to think outside our normal squares of health and see what other skills and things that we can come in. So just to recap today, just before I go, and thanks so much guys for coming and sharing this program with me. We're looking for the immune system, where the take-home thoughts are to let go of those stressful thoughts, those worry thoughts, to look at meditation and look at maybe being cold, look at breathing techniques, seeing if you can find a way that they might help your immune system or what's ever happening with you. And the other thing is to look at exercise as being an agent to help your immune system, to burst your immune system. And it's not running a marathon when you've got a snotty cold. It's just keeping that body moving so that it makes a difference in the long term. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week at 12 o'clock on Wednesday for my health cheat show, health cheat sheets, and we'll have another aspect of health that will sort of really challenge your understanding of health and hopefully give you a little bit more information and a few more skills and resources in the area of health. So until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.